All right. So today we're talking about something really interesting for those of us that live in California. There was a new proposition that just passed in November. It goes into effect on April 1st. And this proposition can potentially help people save thousands of dollars a year on property taxes. And that's for like a median price home. That's not out of the ordinary for someone to save thousands of dollars a year on property taxes. So I'm very excited to talk about this. We have a special guest today, Laurie, who I've known for almost 35 years, I'd say. Laurie works in Gavilan, which is in South Orange County. It is a 55 plus community, and she is the specialist, the real estate agent in that neighborhood, the number one selling real estate agent in that neighborhood. So she knows a tremendous amount about this proposition because the majority of people that can qualify for it are going to be 55 years of age or older. There are other people that can qualify as well, but would you say that's probably the main people that are going to qualify for that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you and I both know people, way more than I do, that are just waiting for this proposition to pass. So this is very timely, and I'm very excited to talk about it today with you.
Me too. Thanks, Dan. Happy to.
All right. So why don't we just start off, and you can talk a little bit about what is Prop 19 and how do you qualify?
Okay, sure. So as most people know, when you purchase a new home, you also have to pay the new property taxes on it. And this has, severely limited 55 plus people, seniors, because most of them have homes that they've purchased 30 years ago and are paying very low property taxes. And so they're kind of stuck in their homes because they can't afford to buy a home at the prices today and pay the new property tax. So what Prop 19 does is it removes some of the restrictions on homeowners so they can more easily transfer their tax base to a new property. So back in the 80s, I think it was 1986, they created Prop 60 and 90, which allowed seniors to move their tax base from their original home to a new home. But there were restrictions on that. It had to be of equal or lesser value. They could only do it once in their lifetime, and it was limited to certain counties in California. So you couldn't just move anywhere you wanted in California. So that was the original proposition that did somewhat help seniors. But once seniors had done it once, they couldn't do it again. They couldn't buy a more expensive home, and they couldn't move everywhere they wanted to move. So what Prop 19 does is it adds to the benefits of Prop 60 and 90. So now to qualify, you just need to be 55 years of age or older, severely disabled, or the victim of a wildlife fire or disaster, and then you can qualify for it. And it's pretty easy to qualify for.
So it's pretty interesting, just kind of going back to what you were saying, that, if someone has owned a home for 20, 30 years, what ends up happening, just like you were saying, is the home prices increase a lot at a much faster rate, especially out here in California, than the property tax is increasing every single year. So someone that has lived in the same home for a long, long time, and let's say they need to downsize, let's say they want to go move with family in another part of California, a lot of times they felt stuck because they know that even if they're going to get a home that is of less value than their current home, they still might be paying so much more in property tax that they can't afford it. So this is huge for people that are in those types of scenarios.
Yes, for sure. So yes, so a person that let's say, for instance, I'll give you an example. Let's say a couple has owned their home for 30 years and they paid about $250,000 for it, or that's what its value is now, and that's what the tax base is. So they're paying approximately 1% or $2,500 a year. Previously, if they sold their home, they would have to move to a home of equal or lesser value, and they could transfer their tax base. So they would pay that $2,500 without any of the propositions. So let's say they sold their home for $1 million,
Mhm.
and they purchased a new home,
Which is
for
very
700.
possible here in
Oh,
California.
absolutely. And but they know they had to buy a lesser value home. So let's say they bought a home for 700,000, then they could transfer that 2,500, and they still can, to a new home, and just pay the 2,500 for the rest of their lives, plus the minor increases that happen with property taxes. But with Prop 19, they can also, let's say they sell their home for $1 million, but they're doing well now. They have a lot of money saved after all the years, and of working and stuff, and they want to buy a $1.5 million home. Well, previously they just couldn't do that. Now they can buy that $1.5 million home. They can transfer their $2,500 to the new home, but then they have to pay the current tax on the additional $500,000 that they're buying, in the new home. So in that scenario, they're still saving about $7,500 a year over what they would normally pay. So instead of paying $15,000 on a $1.5 million home, they're only paying $7,500. So they've added that benefit. And then, like I said, as well as being able to move anywhere in the state. And let's say there's a lot of seniors. I'm one of them. My husband and I moved 5 years ago, and we used the tax-based transfer. So we had a tax base of $3,000 a year, and we moved it to a $700,000, $800,000 home. So we saved a lot of money there, but we kind of felt stuck because we can't ever do it again. So let's say we don't like our community, which we do. We love our community, but so a lot of people move and it's just not for them. Or more importantly, a lot of seniors move because their children are further away and they're getting in an age where they need to be closer to their children. So some people just want to move out of California and go somewhere where it's less expensive to live. But a lot of people I talk to say, I already used my tax-based transfer. I can't afford the new taxes. Well, now they can do it 2 more times because they can do it 3 times. So like for me, I transferred that $3,000 tax base. Let's say I go now and I sell my home for $1 million and I buy a home for $900,000. I can still keep that $20,000 or $3,000 tax base. If I want to go up in value, I just have to add to it the difference, the taxes on the difference. So Prop 19 is a huge benefit for seniors. It's a real plus for seniors. It's something I think a lot of seniors have been, wanting this proposition to go through. It didn't pass the last election, but it passed this election, and it's made a lot of seniors happy that they're at least free to move if they want to. So it's a great thing. And it's also very simple to do. Let me tell you that too.
Yeah,
it's just a 1-page form that you fill out and submit to the tax assessor. And you do it after you close escrow and after you get your deed, which takes about a week. You just send it in, and they adjust your taxes.
And you help people do this all the time, so you know exactly how it all works. But I just wanted to mention real quick, again, these are I know you kind of threw a lot of numbers out there, but these are very realistic figures for Southern California, especially. We both know you're in Orange County, I'm in San Diego. And, $7,500 a year, you're talking $100,000 in like less than 15 years. Yeah. That's a massive, massive savings. And I know you've already used your tax base once to move, so you felt stuck. But now when you're ready to move down to San Diego to be closer to your son, you can use that again.
Yeah, for sure. You just have more options. And like I said, I work with a lot of seniors. Oh, sorry, my phone's ringing. Let me turn that off. The main reason they move is to be closer to their kids, because as they get older, somebody is still. Hold on.
You're an active agent. You're still selling homes while we're recording.
Yeah, it's hard for me to not get phone calls. Hopefully,
so we talked about all the positives. Obviously, this is mostly positive news, but there are definitely some negatives. Do you want to talk about the specific negatives that happen with this proposition?
Sure. So as far as seniors moving, it's all great. It's all a positive. But, whenever they pass a proposition, the government still needs their tax revenue. So so in this case, they kind of giveth, but they taketh away, as they say. So they're taking away tax revenue because we're saving money when we move and they're not getting that tax revenue. So they have to figure out a way to add to their revenue as well. So the way they did that is, so before Proposition 19, people could transfer, let's say you're an older couple and you have a vacation home on the beach and you're getting older and you want to transfer, or you pass away and that property gets transferred to your children. Well, before Prop 19, the children, let's say they've owned that for 50 years, because some of those like beach properties or vacation properties are like that, or even 100 years, they have very small tax base. They can transfer that to their children and their children can use it as a vacation home and pay that very low tax rate, and they can keep transferring generation to generation and just
generational wealth.
Yeah, that same tax. So, you know, a lot of people felt that that was kind of unfair. So that's a way that they could take from them and add to the tax revenue. So now with Proposition 19, they can, so there's some restrictions. So it has to be a primary residence of the parents that they live in it. And when they transfer to their children have to use it as a primary residence. Otherwise, they're not exempt. So if it's, like I said, if it's a beach home, the parents don't live in it and or the children aren't going to live in it, then they're going to be taxed at the current rate, which could be several $1 million, you know, for any home.
There'll be a new assessment on the property to show what the current value is, and property taxes will be based off of that current value. Is that right?
Right.
Cool.
So those are, it's a little more detailed than that even if the parent does use it as their primary residence and the child uses it as their primary residence, there's a limit, I think, of $1 million. And I would suggest that parents that are thinking of leaving their properties like that to their children should seek professional advice, because there are different options, but they're kind of fact specific, and you need to like run the numbers to see what's the best way to do it. But if you're thinking of doing, I would do it sooner rather than later. Get professional advice on how to transfer that property. And of course, if the children just sell the property, then that's not an issue, as you know, either. That and there's no problem. But yeah, that's the kind of downside.
Cool. So speaking of professional advice, let's say someone wants to take advantage of this. You're the professional. So how do they reach out to you, Laurie?
So I am an agent in South Orange County, and I specialize in 55 plus communities, but of course I sell homes in all different communities. So if someone is interested in 55 plus community anywhere in Orange County, I'm very familiar with them. But of course, if you're interested in taking advantage of Prop 19 and even moving to a non-55 plus community, all the rules still apply. You don't have to be in a 55 plus community. It's just that that's where a lot of seniors go. So if anyone is interested, they can contact me at 949-422-6151, or they can email me at Laurie Macko, LaurieMacko 33@gmail.com.
And because this is what you specialize in, we also know people that are specialists in this all over California. So if someone needs a referral in California, we're happy to connect them with an agent that can really help them out for this matter.
Sure.
I'm going to real quick go over everything we talked about for Proposition 19, the main points. You can do it anywhere in California. You can buy a home anywhere in California. You could use it up to 3 times. It's for anyone, or to qualify, you have to be either 55 age, you have to be 55 years old or older. Your home was taken out by a wildfire or natural disaster, and then or severely disabled. Am I missing anything? Was that it? I think
that's it.
Okay.
Those are the 3 segments of the population that qualify.
Awesome. Well, again, this was our first live. I think we did pretty well. Well, it's getting a little crazy over here, but I think we did pretty well. Thanks for joining me today, Laurie. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully people will reach out if they have any questions.